Have you noticed how some Christians are trying to use their Christianity as a reason to not be an out and out supporter of Black Lives Matter? And they try to hide their racism within what I would only assume they would think could be moderation. Well, today we're going to look at one such Christian. What is up, you sinners and saints, my fellow godless peoples? Welcome back to The Rage. I am the Raging Atheist, your boy, Nakasuchi. Today, we're going to be looking at Polite Leader. First, going to send that shout out to my supporters, my patrons. You guys are the shit. If you'd like to see every edited video before they go on YouTube, you can for just $1 a month. If you'd like to just be a supporter, link is in the description below. Alright, so I have a feeling this might be a long video. Let's get right into it.
Amidst all of the goings on, I've decided to do a video in which I give my thoughts on the BLM movement. So let's delve right in. Firstly, we must begin this entire conversation with the recognition that God is creator. Genesis 1 says God created all things, and scripture specifically states that everything God has made is good. In the same chapter, he says he made the whole human race. There is not a black race, and a white race, and a brown race, and a yellow race. There is one human race.
Alright, so first off, we're not going to base this on the assumption that God is creator. Nobody's been able to prove that a God is creator, and the moment you start using your 2,000-year-old text to tell me something that's not based in reality, well, I as an atheist am going to have an issue with that. Black Lives Matter has nothing to do with your 2,000-year-old book. And while I really want to agree with the sentiment that there's no other race but the human race, in reality, we see that there are other races, other cultures, and you can't deny that. That's just the reality of the situation. And also the reality of the situation is that in this country, black people and brown people and red people get policed differently than white people.
In Acts 17, Paul said that from one man he made all nations, and he is the one who sets the limits of their boundaries and their habitations. But if Genesis 1 says that God created the world, then shortly after, Genesis 3 says Satan corrupted this world. When Adam and Eve fell, they introduced sin to humanity, and all racism stems from sin.
So right away, we're going to get this very literal interpretation of the Bible, and I believe Polite Leader is a Calvinist. But this isn't about his Calvinism, it's about this stupid bullshit. So you're going to sit here and say that God is so perfect that it didn't take but like 2 verses for Satan to come and totally fuck everything up. You're going to blame Satan, not God's ineptitude. And then you're going to blame Adam and Eve instead of God as well, because it's Adam and Eve's fault that God lied to them. It's Adam and Eve's fault that they listened to the truths that the serpent was giving to them. It's Adam and Eve's fault that they ate of that tree and they didn't die. So, none of that's on God.
Racism is a wicked, vile abomination that will burn in hell for all eternity. But as believers, we need to be consistent. Contrary to the critical race theory narrative, there are not some races which are incapable of racism. Sin is universal, and therefore racism can be found in every single ethnic group across the globe, contrary to what social justice and intersectionality tell us. And that brings me to my second point. Because God is the creator, all lives matter.
And racism isn't just about sin. It's not just black and white. There are gray areas. People are born into racism a lot of the times. They've never known anything else. It's all that they know, and it's very hard to reach those people. And I'm not justifying it, but I'm just saying it's not some fucking sin, it's ignorance.
As Christians, we do not place one human life above another on the basis of ethnicity. For us, the only justice that should matter is biblical justice. As we look at the images we have seen over the last few weeks, our hearts should break equally for every innocent person who has been harmed, irrespective of their skin color. We should have the utmost compassion for people like the Dallas shop owner, who was brutally beaten by rioters and left in critical condition. And our hearts and prayers should go out to the loved ones of Captain David Dorn, who was murdered in St. Louis. All human life is precious, because all humans are made in the image of God.
And here comes Polite Leader with his passive-aggressive racism, with his protest to a protest.
Screaming all lives matter is a protest to my protest. What kind of shit is that?
All lives matter is nothing but a dog whistle to neo-Nazi white supremacists. Because Black Lives Matter isn't saying that all lives don't matter. Black Lives Matter is saying that Black Lives Matter too. Of course, all races can be racist. All you have to do is be part of one race, dislike another race, solely for them being a part of that race. So all races are capable of that. And I've covered the ISUBK, who are black separatists, who are racist. See, that's not really the conversation. The conversation's about power. It's about power. And if you have the power to use that racism on a systematic level to where it would oppress everybody in that other race, that's the conversation that you, polite leader, don't seem smart enough to be able to be a part of. See, here we have an issue because all lives aren't precious, and you're going to get to that here in a little bit. You're just trying to pull on the heartstrings to try to make people come over to this ideology to be against Black Lives Matter, to be against what's going on in the streets, to be against people demanding their equality, because you, as a Christian extremist, as a Calvinist, whatever you are, you want to see America go back under the sway of Christian theocracy. You just said it, biblical justice. Biblical justice, what does that mean for gay people? What does that mean for non-believers such as myself? What does that mean for free, independent women? Biblical justice is atrocious Levitical law. Is that what you mean, polite leader?
Thirdly, all Black Lives Matter. It's interesting that when someone says Black Lives Matter, and I respond by saying all Black Lives Matter, I don't get nearly the same applause by simply adding the word all to the phrase. But all Black Lives Matter. That includes the thousands of blacks who are murdered every single year by other blacks. And it likewise includes the countless black babies in the womb who are murdered every single year by that killing factory, which Pastor Jeff Durbin refers to as Murder, Inc.
So again, by saying all Black Lives Matter, you're trying to take away from the protest to what they're calling for an end to, and that is brutality by police. That is overpopulating our jails with young black men and women. That's all it is. It's another protest to a protest.
There is a protest to my protest. What kind of shit is that?
You're protesting black on black crime. Well, are you protesting white on white crime, since that's the predominant way white people kill each other? Are you protesting that, polite leader? Or are you just being a very passive aggressive racist? And yes, I understand that you're not a white dude. You very clearly come from a brown ancestry, which makes this even more fucking puzzling. But we see this all the time. People get sucked into this false narrative propaganda, and you are sitting here peddling it as a Christian.
And the final point, Black Lives Matter. Now, brothers and sisters, this is really important. As true believers who have bowed the knee to Jesus Christ, we must, and I mean we must, distinguish between the declarative statement, Black Lives Matter, and the organized network known as Black Lives Matter. As a believer, you cannot, and I mean cannot, endorse the ideology of the BLM movement. Black Lives Matter was formed in 2013 by Alicia, Patrice, and Opal in response to the Trayvon Martin case. Here's just one statement from their official website. Quote, "We foster a queer-affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather, the belief that all in the world are heterosexual, unless he, she, or they disclose otherwise."
Wait up, hold up, polite leader. I thought all lives matter. Weren't you just spending the first part of your video saying all lives matter? And now we have lives that don't matter at all for you. Here we have you saying not to support Black Lives Matter, not because of the movement they represent, but because they were founded by LGBTQ plus women and also stand for the equality of LGBTQ plus people. What happened to all lives matter in the span of a couple fucking minutes?
End quote. This is a statement that runs 100% diametrically opposed to God's creative decree and his ordained roles for men and women. In Matthew 19, Jesus said, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female? And said, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother, and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let no man separate. Jesus didn't need to specifically address the subject of homosexual practice. He presumed as the foundation of his utterance marital monogamy and indissolubility, and the two-ness of the sexes at the very beginning of creation. Without that foundation, he would not have been able to reach his limitation of sexual intimacy between one man and one woman within the pure fountain of marriage.
So here, we're not about equality at all. We're not about equality for gay people to get married because some ancient fucking book tells you that it's bad. And they don't even tell you that it's bad for LGBTQ plus peoples to be married. It just focuses on hetero marriage because, you know, Yahweh wanted babies. Needed those foreskins, yo. And here we just have another Christian using this ancient book to other people, to make them less than, while in the same breath screaming things like all lives matter when clearly all lives don't.
And brothers and sisters in the Lord, I say this in love. For us, Jesus' foundation has to be more important than the structure that's built upon it. We cannot stand with an organization that opposes our Lord's teaching and defines his doctrine on marriage as the quote-unquote tight grip of heteronormative thinking, from which we must quote-unquote free ourselves. Additionally, BLM embraces the most aggressive form of intersectionality, and it also endorses socialism, which are both completely opposed to the doctrines of Christian unity and freedom.
You know, they always have to go to socialism, don't they? It's always socialism. But, like, you'd have to really prove that socialism goes against Christianity or that Christianity can't exist within socialism, because it can. But here we have Polite Leader calling for Christianity not to support what's going on in the streets, not to support black people in America, not to support Black Lives Matter, simply because the founders of Black Lives Matter are LGBTQ+, and you as Christians must hate these people. You as Christians must other these people. And it's just an excuse not to support the people that very religion allowed to be enslaved in the first place. Where was your God when African Americans were being enslaved and brought here? Where was your Christianity? It was right up in the mix of it. So don't sit here and try to placate me with this 2,000-year-old book doing the same thing that every fundamental extremist has before you, and that is other human beings, while trying to say that you love other human beings and try to say that you love all human beings when you don't.
So what can we as Christians take away from everything that is going on right now by way of application? I would highly recommend that you read and sign the Statement on Social Justice, which affirms some of the things I've briefly outlined in this video.
You know, what's going on right now is historic. What's going on right now will be in the history books, and you'll either be on the right side of that history or on the wrong side of that history. And you, Polite Leader, are on the wrong side. As always, I'm your boy Nakasuchi, the Raging Atheist. This is The Rage. If you like these videos, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share on your social media, comment in the comment section below. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we go live or every time I put out a new video. As always, I'll see you soon.